السلام عليكم صباح الخير. Can you hear me? السلام عليكم. صباح الخير فاطمة. صباح الخير سكي. Please confirm if you can hear me. صباح الخير. مساء الخير. So it's morning time here. I don't know what time it is at your end. But صباح الخير. Let me see where you're joining from if you can hear me. I'm just gonna check the chat and see if you can all hear me. لحظة. وعليكم السلام. Let me check again and I'll see. أهلا وسهلا. أهلا وسهلا sister إفراح من رومانيا. ما شاء الله مترو. أهلا وسهلا من رومانيا. أهلا كريم. مرحبا. أهلا وسهلا صباح الخير. So I can see some returning viewers. Alhamdulillah. It's good. Okay, so today we're gonna go over irregular verbs. And let me just check on everyone, see if everyone is aboard. And من أين أنت? Where are you joining us from? من أين أنتم الآن؟ وكم الساعة؟ كم الساعة الآن؟ الساعة هنا في أمريكا في فلوريدا الساعة 8. الساعة 8:04. So what time is it at your end and where are you joining from? ممتاز ما شاء الله. وعليكم السلام. وعليكم السلام نور. يلا من أين أنتم؟ وكم الساعة الآن؟ أهلا وسهلا انتصار. من أين أنتم وكم الساعة الآن؟ Where are you joining from? Where are you from? وكم الساعة الآن? What time is it now? كم الساعة الآن؟ الساعة 4:05 مساء أو صباحا يا سيستر إفراح. انتصار من تركيا. أهلا وسهلا من تركيا. سعود علي من الهند. مرحبا. Okay. So الساعة 8:05 الآن صباحا. جوردي من نيذرلاندز. أهلا وسهلا جوردي. إذن سنبدأ. We'll begin. And I shared with you all this set of irregular verbs that I will just share one more time. Before we begin, I'd like you to look at this chart and let me know how many verbs you can recognize. We have the verbs on one side and then we have the nouns or the gerunds on the other side, which is like, here, I'll just point to it. لحظة 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 لحظة. So we're going to begin all together اليوم. So all of these are verbs and we have the irregular verbs. They have 3 categories. One, verbs that begin with wow, and here you have the verb and then you have the noun, the gerund over here. And these are the verbs that have alif in the middle, and this is the noun. These are the verbs that have alif maqsura, and I'm referring to ya here because something changes. And then these verbs are called also irregular, and they have alif maqsura, and then they would take also ya. So I'm gonna put the numbers over here just for this category, and I'll read these verbs and tell me if you could recognize them. وصل 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 الرجل إلى بيته باكرا. وصل الرجل إلى بيته باكرا. وجد وجدت مفتاحي. وجدت مفتاحي. وضع وضعت كأسي فوق المكتب أو فنجان قهوتي فوق المكتب. وقف وقف الطالب عند الباب. وقف الطالب عند الباب. وعد وعدت ابني بهدية. وعدت ابني بهدية. So I gave you examples with these verbs. So وصل, وجد, وضع, وقف, ووعد. We'll look at these verbs and understand their meaning in English, and then you can translate, of course, in your native language. And then we're going to give more examples. Hopefully we'll go through all of them. And then we're going to conjugate and see how the conjugation changes. So let's just go back to here. What you could do is just put number 1 before you hit enter. Put number 1, the translation, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to have the waterfall chat. As soon as you're done, you can just hit enter so we can see that waterfall chat and see everybody's response. So وصل, وجد, وضع, وقف, ووعد. ممتاز. جميل. يلا شباب, I'll give you a moment to find the translation. جميل جدا. Okay. أحسنت. صحيح. So عندنا وصل arrive, وعندنا وجد find, وعندنا وضع put, وقف stop, وعد promise. And let me clear all of this again one more time so I can write them clearly. We have وصل arrive, وجد, and you see that they all rhyme. So I said وصل الرجل إلى عمله باكرا أو وصل الرجل لعمله باكرا. The man arrived to his work early. وجد, وجد, find. وجدت مفتاحي, I found my key. وجد. وضع, put. وضعت فنجاني فوق المكتب. وضعت فنجاني فوق المكتب. I put my cup on the desk. And وقف, stop. وقف الطالب عند الباب. وقف الطالب عند الباب. The student stopped by the door. And then وعد, promise. وعدت ابني بهدية. I promised my son a gift. And he's hearing me. وعدت ابني بهدية. وعدت ابني بهدية. جميل جدا. Definitely all of these you can ask questions with these verbs, but we're going to go through the translation and then we're going to see how we can put them in sentences. We'll take one verb as our sample verb so we can see how the conjugation changes, and then we're going to see how we can use the gerund instead of the verb, and then we could add into it. Here we have Sara. قال, نال, نام, صام. سارة. سرت على خطى والدي. سرت على خطى والدي. أو سار الولد على خطى والده. سار الولد على خطى والده. And you don't have to understand every single word I'm saying. in this Arabic sentence. I'm just trying to accommodate different levels that we have in the live chat. So you can just tell me what Sarah is, and then we will be putting those sentences in written form. That way you can see them. So سار الولد على خطى والده أو صرت على خطى والدي. قال 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 لي المعلم أو الأستاذ، قال لي الأستاذ أنه عندنا امتحان. قال لي الأستاذ أنه عندنا امتحان. قال لي الأستاذ أنه عندنا امتحان. نال نال. I'll put the numbers over here again. So we're doing this category and try to put the number and then the meaning. نال نال الطالب هدفه. نال الطالب هدفه. And نال it could have different meanings depending on how you're using it. So نال الطالب هدفه. نال الطالب هدفه. نام. نمت باكرا البارحة. نمت باكرا البارحة. نمت باكرا البارحة. صام. أصوم في شهر رمضان. أصوم في شهر رمضان. So I'll see how many of you got these. صام. يلا. سارة قال نال نام صامها. جميل. Let's see. يلا. Now let's have that waterfall chats. Hit enter and tell me the meanings of all these 5 verbs or irregular verbs of Arabic. سار قال نال نام وصام. ممتاز مترو. 2 to say. جميل. ممتاز. لا how about this one? This is نال وهنا نام. نعم. صام. جيد. ممتاز. So Sarah is to walk. There we go. I'm just gonna erase this one over here. There we go. Sarah to walk. And the example I said is سار الولد على خطى والده. Is he walked or he followed his father's footsteps. When you say سار على خطى, means he followed or he walked the same steps as his father. So سار الولد على خطى والده. And then we have قال, say. نال, reach and also obtain. And the example I said here is نال الطالب هدفه. نال الطالب هدفه. The student obtained or reached his objective. نال. And then we have نام, sleep. نمت باكرا البارحة. نمت باكرا البارحة. I slept early last night or yesterday. Then we have صوم, which is to fast. ممتاز. And I'll go and I'll explain these so we can be mindful of time. And as soon as we're done with this, we're gonna go to explaining what happens to the verb in the irregular form. How does it change when you are doing the present, the past, and the future. So we have مشى. مشى, this is also walk. Like we have Sarah and مشى. قضى, spend, but not spending money, it's spending time. بقي, remain or stay. رمى, throw. And رأى, see. And رأى is different from نظر, because نظر, to look, like I could say انظر, انظر, look, but I can't say رأى, like I can't give you a command with the verb رأى, see. So I have to say he saw, رأى شيء, he saw something, but he looked, it's quick. نظر, نظر. انظر, انظر, look, انظر. So رأى is different from نظر. نظر إليه, he looked at him. رآه, he saw him. So I could say رأيت صديقي في السوق, I saw my friend in the market, but I can't say نظرت صديقي في السوق. So you have to be careful with how you're using رأى and نظر. Now let's see the examples. We said سار and then السير. سار السير. This is walking. Any verb that has alif in the middle, what happens is that the alif takes different form when you're doing the present. So I would say سارة, I walk, and I would say أسير. So what happened to the alif? The alif, you do not keep it in the present tense. So أسير على خطى والدي. أسير على خطى والدي. I walk, or I follow my father's steps. خطى. أسير. The verb here سارة, what you have, the alif changed to ya. And this would remind you of the verb باع. باع يبيع. So what you have to do is just think of the verb and try to categorize it based on how or what form does the alif take. In this example, the alif takes a ya. But not all of the verbs have to take a ya. So here, باع is to sell. And I would say أبيع. باع أبيع. صار أسير. At least one subject pronoun has to be conjugated. And I'll go with قال. So I said صار أسير. So أسير على خطى والدي. I follow, or I walk, follow my father's footsteps. That meaning I walk after him. قال, in this example, the alif becomes wow in the present tense. And then I would say أقول. أقول. أقول له, I tell him. أقول له. أن. أقول له, I tell him to. أقول له أن يدرس جيدا. I tell him to study well. أقول له أن يدرس جيدا. أقول له. And then we have نال. نال. In this example, I would keep the alif. So basically what you're looking at, the irregular verbs with alif can either have the alif stay or remain in there, like in the example of نال, but the alif can change to a waw in the present tense. The alif can change to a ya. And then here, if I'm saying نال أنال, أنال هدفي, I obtain my objective. أنال هدفي عندما أعمل جيدا. You could say I obtain my objective when I work hard. عندما أعمل. And أنال منه, this is another form we use أنال, like when you get someone, like you how would I say that in English? You get him, you trick him, you're not being honest with him, you would say نلت منه, like I got him. So you say أنال منه. That would be an expression to say I get someone. Mean you probably tricked him or something. this verb, if it's new to you, you're not familiar with it, what I would go with is the verb that's quite common, which is khafa. So I'll just go back again. I'll say أسير, أقول, and then here أنال. And as I write these verbs, I have to be reminded of other verbs that I already know, which is I sell, أبيع. أقول, we have verbs right here as أصوم, I fast, and here this verb over here changes to wow, like قال, you keep it in the wow, but أنال, same as أنام, to sleep. Both of these verbs, they keep the alif. So نال and nama keeps the alif, but sara does not keep the alif. It changes to iya. And the verb we're thinking about is ba'a, to sell. So how would you put these examples or these verbs in examples? Let me see if you have any questions about this. أقول صحيح. So I see Apex is saying so much is to walk, but what about the word? Well, okay. سارة and مشى. سارة صحيح. You could say مشيت على خطى and سرت على خطى. Both of them would mean you followed the footsteps of someone. So you would say سرت على خطى. سرت, and this is the past. سرت على خطى. Here's the other thing. In the past, you don't have any long vowel. So as I'm saying سرت, I have no ya in here. And then if I'm saying I said قلت, I have no wow over here. And if I'm saying I obtained, I have no alif over here. So what we're doing, this is about quite challenging, but it's really fun when you look at it and you categorize it. You look at the verb, the irregular verb, you look at the long vowel that it has, see how does the long vowel change in the present tense. So in the examples that we have here, the long vowel alif stayed as an alif, then we had it change to a ya, then we had it change to a wow. All you have to do is put a group or a set of verbs that would have the long vowel alif change to ya, and then you would just categorize them. That's one. The other part, you just have to remember the past. In the past form, none of these long vowels exist. So all you have to do is just say قلت له, I told him. نلت منه, I got to him. سرت على خطاه, I followed his footsteps. So no long vowel should be used in the past tense. But the present tense, you have to be mindful of how the long vowel changes. So alif would become ya, would become wow, and it would remain as another alif. Isn't that fun? That's what I would tell my students. Isn't that fun? Sahih, it is fun. As long as you are obtaining a list, or you have a list of verbs, all you have to do is create your post-it notes, look at the category, the exact same way I'm putting over here. All you have to do is look at the category. This is an irregular verb. Or try to create this set, and I would include examples from verbs that have alif change to ya, verbs that have alif change to a wow, and verbs that keep alif even when you are saying the present tense. So anamu, yanamu, tanamu, but qala, I say aqulu, taqulu. All the other subject pronouns would have the alif change to the wow. As soon as I want to use the gerund, we're going to learn a different structure or sentence structure. When I use the gerund, it's not the same time, the same thing as using the verb. So let me see if you have any questions. And all the explanation I have provided in this part or this category with irregular verbs, Arabic verbs with alif, would be similar to irregular verbs with wow, irregular verbs with ya or alif maqsura. So let me take your questions. أقول طالبتي. How about this? Try to put these verbs in sentences. So أنام مبكرا ممتاز. أنام مبكرا جيد. أقول قولي هذا. أقول قولي هذا صحيح يونس. أقول قولي هذا. I say my saying this or I confirm my statement. أقول قولي هذا. حصلت ابنتي على الجائزة صحيح فاطمة. So Sarah is to walk. نعم. Sleep fast. ممتاز. جميل جدا. Now we're going to use these verbs in sentences. And what I'm going to do is I will say أسير, right? If I want to say I like walking or following the steps of someone, I have to use the verb أحب. أحب أن أسير. أحب أن أسير. In this example, I'm using أن to refer to two, but two between two verbs. Because if I have two verbs, I have to separate between them. I love to walk. And in both verbs, you have to indicate the I. So what you're saying in Arabic is like, I love to, I walk. But you just have to make sure that you're stating the verb tense conjugation over here, the prefix, and you're stating it over here as well. But between the two verbs, you need to say an. I want to tell you. أريد أن أقول. أريد أن أقول لك. I want to tell you. لك. أريد أن أقول لك. أريد أن أنام. I want to sleep. أريد أن أصوم. So we have صام يصوم. هو يريد أن يصوم. It doesn't matter who is speaking. As long as you state the person who's speaking, you need to include the verb in both, or the verb conjugation of the person speaking in both verbs over here. So in this example, it's me speaking, it's I. So all I have to do is say, I love to walk or to follow the steps. So, and the N, I'll just write it one more time over here. I need to do the color coding so you can see what I'm talking about. So the N over here, the A that you see here has nothing to do with me. It's just the verb, the word N too. But as you say, أريد أن أسير, this part over here, that's the one that indicates to the I. So أحب أن أسير. أريد أن أسير. أريد أن أقول. I want to say or to tell. Then this is one way of writing, but I would like to put the gerund, which is السير. What I do over here, and it's very important, please pay attention to this part. What I do over here is, instead of placing the verb with N, I change to the gerund. And I would say أحب السير على خطى والدي. I like walking or following the steps of my dad. أحب. As we have said, no N over here. I never use N. I only use it if I have a verb. And I could say أريد الصوم. I want to fast. This means fasting here. الصوم. أحب الصوم. I like fasting. أحب النوم. I like sleeping. أحب القول. أحب هذا القول. I like this saying. أحب السير. Verb plus gerund. When I say gerund, I mean in English you're saying fasting, walking. So you're saying the ing. That's why I'm saying the gerund. So that being said, let's move on to the second part. And let me take your questions. لم أحب أن أمشي كثيرا. لم أحب المشي كثيرا. Great example, Eunice. I'll go back to here. Oops. And since we learned the negation, definitely I will be using the negation. And then I would say لم أحب. لم أحب. I didn't like. لم أحب. It's advised to use the gerund. لم أحب النوم متأخرا. I didn't like sleeping late. لم أحب النوم متأخرا. أحب أن أنام متأخرا. أحب النوم باكرا. In these examples, what you're saying is here, both of them, like, it's exact same meaning. I like to sleep early or late, or I don't like to sleep early or late. Then here you just use la. But because we're using the present tense, you have more flexibility to use the verb or to use the noun. In the past tense, it's better to use the gerund. I didn't like sleeping late. لم أحب النوم متأخرا. لم أحب النوم متأخرا. ممتاز. ممتاز. Okay, so let's move on to the second category. Let's see how we're doing with time. جيد جيد. The irregular verbs, it takes us quite a long time to go over them, but if you check the Arabic verbs playlist, you will find 3 videos, 3 separate explanations with examples and how you can conjugate them. But here this is an introduction and as well as a way to gain more vocabulary. So we have وصل, arrive, وجد, find, وضع, put, وقف, stop, وعد, promise. And I can say something like this. أصل, أجد, أقف, أعد, أضع. Tell me what happened here. Let's see. What happened to the irregular verb over here? So the verb starts with a wow. What happened to the wow? Let's see what happened to the wow. Yalla ya shabab. So أصل. This is all the present tense. What happened to the verb? And I said I. So I arrive, I find, I stop, I promise, and I put. Oh, it's really easy if you categorize them. Just take 5 model verbs and then try to categorize them. Yalla, let's see what happened to the verb over here. It's an irregular verb. It has 3 letters. We're not doing the irregular verbs that have more letters. Yalla shabab, let's see. And I'm going to check how we're doing with time. Good. أحب أن أتعلم اللغات. جميل. نعم، أحب أيضا أن أتعلم اللغة العربية. Great. So what happened over here is that there is no wow in the present tense. So what you do in the present tense is you get rid of this wow and you replace it by the verb prefixes or the tense. Well, in this case, I'm saying I, so I'm replacing the wow with alif. And I say asilu. What you have to remember is that the short cases that you would also change. And I would say asilu. I have fatha, kasra, dhamma. Ajidu. Fatha, kasra, dhamma. Aqifu. Fatha, kasra, dhamma. Ada'u is different. Then you have to make sure that you state this difference. Ada'u. Ada'u. I put. And that's the only one that would break that pattern. This is the present. The past, and I hope I'm not confusing you today because this requires worksheets and looking at more examples, forming sentences. But give me first your sentences in the present tense, where what you're doing is you are getting rid of the wow and you are putting your conjugation or prefixes, verb prefixes as he or I or she. She arrives, you arrive, she finds, she puts, or I put, I stop, she stops. So try to place these examples. Here I'll say wasala, arrive, wajada, find. For those who just joined us, wada'a, put, waqafa, stop, and then wa'ada, promise. And here I have al-wusul, al-wujud, أو وجد الإيجاد. No, هي الإيجاد. It's الإيجاد. And then الوجود is existence. And then we have الوضع, الوقوف, الوعد. So give me examples with irregular verbs using وصل. أهلا سعد. So وصل, who could give me وصل? ممتاز Blueberry. Great, you're here with us. So how would you put I arrive in the present tense, or I find, or I put, I stop, I promise? Place these verbs in examples in the present tense. وجدنا الأكل فوق الطاولة. ممتاز يا يونس. وجدنا الأكل فوق الطاولة. جميل. ماذا أيضا؟ ممتاز. We found the food on the table or on top of the table. ممتاز. لم أجد. لم أجد. Even when you're using negation, you have to use the present tense referring to a past action. So in this example, you could also use lam to refer to negation in the past, or use la to refer to negation in the present. لا أجد, لا أجد هاتفي. Things that you lose a lot. ناتاشا صحيح. وصلت إلى البيت. ممتاز. So I would put وصلت and keep the chat busy typing in Arabic. يلا شباب. وصلت وصلت وصلت. وصلت إلى البيت. وصلت إلى البيت. I arrived home. أضع 3 ملعقات من سكر في الشاي. جميل يا Blueberry. ممتاز. I put 3 tablespoons of sugar in tea. أضع 3 ملعقات أو ملاعق. I would say ملعقات أو ملاعق من سكر في الشاي. جميل جدا. وجدت هاتفي في المطبخ. I found my phone in the kitchen. جميل جدا. يلا شباب, keep adding the examples in the live chat and type in Arabic. If my notes are confusing you, I can just clear the board a little bit so you can see over here. So we're doing I'll write it again. So here I have, what was that? أجد. No. أجد. يلا. I didn't promise him. I didn't promise her. And then you could say لم أعدها. I didn't promise her. لم أعدها. لا أضع هاتفي في جيبي. I don't put my phone in my pocket. ممتاز sister إفرا. وصلت إلى المحطة. I arrived to the station. روحان وصلت. Here's the thing. If you're putting the past, we did the present, and we said that the present you have to keep the alif in it. The alif refers to the I, so the wow is not part of the present tense, so here there is no wow. If you're saying the past, and I see some of you are using the past, in the past you do not double the identification of the speaker. So all you have to do is refer to the past tense ending. In this case, it's to. For I did something, for I. So to at the end. And what you do is you keep the verb as it is. So you wouldn't say أصل, you would say وصلت. وصلت. And I'll clear the board and write this one more time. So we can just recap and see how we conjugate verbs. We said the present tense. We have a verb that begins with wow. What we do, there is no wow in the present tense. You replace it with the verb conjugation. And when I say verb conjugation, I mean prefixes and suffixes. So in this example, I would say أصل. I arrive. If I'm using the past tense, what I do is I keep the wow, because all I have to remember, I never double identify the speaker in the same verb. This is for the present tense, so I do not use it in the past. What I would say وصلت. I arrived. And what I'm doing is I'm keeping the wow. وصلت. وصلت. So the wow stays. You keep it. And what you add is the ending of past conjugation. So the ending of I did something is to. So here you would say I arrived. وصلت. I found. وجدت. I put. وضعت. I stopped. وقفت. I promised. وعدت. So this would be past conjugation. If you're using the present, you never double identify. You only have to say the alif, I, plus the verb. This would be the present. So no wow over here. And you would state the verb أصل, أجد, أضع, أجد. وصلت. I arrived. So here you have the past and here you have the present. We never double identify the speaker. Nothing over here. You only focus on the ending because you're saying the past. So وصلت. وصلت. وضعت الفنجان على الطاولة روحان. ممتاز. لم أعدها. I didn't promise her. أنا وصلت فاطمة. جميل جدا. أنا وصلت. So I hope you're taking notes as we're writing, because one of the best ways to retain your vocabulary is by taking notes. If you don't take notes and you only listen to what I say or what your instructor says, then there is no way for you to go back to your notes or read your notes or refer to them or write again more examples. Arabic is really a language that you need to write. It's not like any other language where you would rely on listening skills, but you have to rely also on written notes and writing skills. So please always keep writing Arabic. That's why I try to encourage you to type in the Arabic chat. That way you go back to the live replay of our chat and you can look at those examples and see how many you can recognize and the sentences that you were able to form. صحيح blueberry. وقف also means stand. صحيح. So I say قف, stand. وقف الولد. He stood up. صحيح. So وقف, stand, and stop. For some reason I was just thinking about stop. توقف. When you ask someone to stop, you would tell him, like, stop doing something, you would say توقف. توقف. Stop doing something. But if you're saying just like قف, stand up, you'd say قف. قف, stand up. فاطمة لقد وجدت طريقي. ممتاز فاطمة, جميل جدا. جيد جيد جيد. Let's see how we're doing with time. Yes, okay, we have 5 minutes and I'll try to go to the last category. This was quite heavy, but I'm going really slow because I'd like you to be able to use these verbs in sentences. But since I'm introducing the gerund, and I'm correcting this over here, it's not al-wujud, it's ijad. Okay, let me use وقوف here, or al-wusul. Okay. I want to arrive early. أريد, I can say أريد أن أصل باكرا. أريد أن أصل باكرا. We do the exact same thing we just explained earlier. If we want to change from verb or use the gerund, I have to get rid of n, and n comes with sukun. It's not anna, it's n. And then I have to say أريد الوصول. And if you go to the airport, you will say wusul, arrival. And this means arrival. I want to arrive early. Either example, whether you're using the verb or you're using the gerund, both of them will give you the exact same meaning, which is I want to arrive early. أريد الوصول للبيت أريد الوصول للبيت باكرا. أريد أن أصل إلى البيت باكرا. وأنا وصلت باكرا. لم أصل باكرا. لم أصل باكرا. If you're trying to use the gerund in the past, what I would say is just use the verb I couldn't, which is لم أستطع. And I would say لم أستطع, I couldn't, or I was not able to. لم أستطع, and here I would say الوصول, I couldn't arrive. لم أستطع الوصول باكرا. And I could also use لم أستطع with the verb لم أستطع أن أصل باكرا. And remember, I'm going really slowly, but now I'm going to speed up because of time. لم أستطع الوصول. لم أستطع أن أصل. I couldn't arrive. I couldn't arrive. I couldn't arrive. So excuse all the noise. I have my son in the background. So I couldn't arrive. جميل جدا. Now I'm gonna go to the last category and we should be good. Okay, yes, we're good with time. Here I have مشى, I have قضى, I have بقي, رمى, and رأى. As you can see, I have the ya, but I also have the alif maqsura. This is alif maqsura, alif maqsura. This is a ya. This is alif maqsura and alif maqsura. If I have alif maqsura, it means I'm pronouncing it as a. So مشى, مشى, قضى. And مشى, to walk. Like we said, سار مشى على خطى والديه. سار على خطى والديه. قضى, spend. And this is very important to remember, that you're spending time, not money. And then بقي, remain. And رمى, throw. And رأى, see, not نظر. We have نظر, but we're using رأى as a رؤية. And the gerunds are المشي, القضاء, البقاء, الرمي, الرؤية, and so on. What happens to the verbs with the ya? I'll go with I. And what I'm gonna do is I will say I walk. So let me do I walk. أمشي. أمشي. The ألف مقصورة becomes ya. And be very careful because the verb ends with ألف مقصورة. The verb ends with ألف مقصورة. So I have to change it to ya. Then I would say I walk. أقضي. All the verbs that end with ألف مقصورة have to change to ya. أقضي. I spend good time. And this means I have good time. So I would say أقضي وقتا ممتعا. أقضي وقتا ممتعا معكم. I spend good time with you all. So أقضي وقتا ممتعا معكم, with you all, معكم. So here I'm changing the ألف مقصورة to إياه. So I would do it with رمى, أرمي. I would do it with رأى. No, I wouldn't do it with رأى. No. رأى keeps أرى. In the present tense, you would keep the ألف مقصورة over here. But I would change it with قضى and مشى. So here, قضى, مشى, رمى, the ألف مقصورة becomes ya. Now I have بقي and I have رأى. Let me clear. And I'm going to just start all over again. Here we go. And what I'm gonna do is I will refer to the ending of the verb. And please be careful with this part because it's quite challenging, but it's very important to remember it in this order. So if I have the verb ending with ألف مقصورة, the examples I gave is أقضي. So over here, and then أمشي, I walk, أرمي, I throw. All of this over here, you see that the ألف مقصورة became ya. So I have to change it to ya. See that? But if I have a verb that changes with ya, like بقي, remain, I would say أبقى. أبقى. I remain. In this example, what I'm doing is it's the opposite. The ya becomes ألف مقصورة. So in this example, because the verb ends with a ya, as you can see it over here, the verb has a ya. So I have to make it ألف مقصورة. The exception we have in here is أرى. I see. Oh, I see. أرى ذلك. أرى. And here I keep the ألف. I keep the ألف مقصورة and I go أرى. Same as أبقى. So let's put examples with مشيت, عفوا أمشي, and we're using the present tense. أمشي, أقضي, أبقى, أرمي. And I could say something like, I'll just clear this. Let's see how we're doing with time. Okay, so we have about 2 minutes before we end, and I'm gonna leave you with this part, and when we come next week, hopefully I'll keep you posted on when we're gonna have the live chat again and the live study session. All you have to do is look at these examples. You have to conjugate them in the past, present, and then future. All you have to do is remember how the ألف مقصورة changes. So over here, these become ya. And in this example, baqiya becomes alif maqsura. And in the other example, what we have, the ya here does not change. So if I say I do, I have to go amshi, aqdi, abqa, armi, ara. So this has to follow the I, the person who is doing the action. Now let's see your examples. أقضي يوم جميل مع عائلتي. ممتاز ناتاشا. I spend good time with my family. أمشي إلى المسجد لأداء صلاة العشاء. صحيح روهان. I go to the mosque to perform the Isha prayer. ممتاز جميل. I spent nice day with my family. ممتاز. قضيت. If you're saying the past, all you have to do is just say قضيت. No double identification of I do something twice, like I. So all you have to say is قضيت, and you keep the ya. Nothing changes. قضيت. And all you have to indicate is the I in the past, which is the ending. So here, amshi. If I'm going to say I walked or I did something, the past would let me or allow me to keep the ya, and I would say مشيت. I walked a lot. مشيت كثيرا. قضيت وقتا. And here's the fun part. بقيت, I remained. You would keep the ya here. رأيت, I saw. All of this would keep the ya. So you see how we have alif maqsura in ara, I see, but I saw, you would have to change alif maqsura to iya. There we go. So alhamdulillah, we're done with today's live study session, and I hope you can use these in examples. I was moving really slow, and I hope you all were patient and writing down as I was explaining these parts. 3 categories with irregular verbs. Verbs that have wow, verbs that have alif, and I'll go back to them again over here. Oops. Yes, that's what we did. Verbs that have wow, verbs that have alif, and verbs that have alif maqsura. So as you can see, wow, mashallah, you learned quite a lot of vocabulary today. Just refer to this chart, try to explain it, put sentences. Remember how we're using the gerund and how we use the verb, and look at how you can change them. When you're using I want to do something, the to is n. You can change to do with doing, and then you would put the gerund in that example. So I'll see you inshallah next week. And if you have any questions, you can always place them in the comment section, and we'll stay connected. Assalamu alaikum.